Well, John Rappaport is a graduate of Amherst College with a BA in philosophy and has worked on a freelance investigative reporter for 30 years. And again, he's worked for some of the largest publications in the country and done investigative reporting, the Los Angeles Times, you name it. And, of course, he's also done investigations for international and national television programs. NoMoreFakeNews.com is his website, and he is a frequent guest to this broadcast. But I saw the Denver Post and others last week engaged in unbelievable, off-the-chart, gigantic mind control operations where they just calmly, and I'll pull up the headlines for you in a moment, where they, if you're a TV viewer, I'll give the headlines out to radio listeners so you can search it yourself. Oh, judge to order Holmes to take truth serum during trial. And they just report it like, oh, that's a good thing. Thank God they're doing that. Folks, that group, that family of drugs is what they use to put you into mind control. I mean, that's even in movies like Conspiracy Theory, you know, about mind control with Mel Gibson. I mean, even in Hollywood movies, people know that. Sirhan was put on amnesic drugs. That later came out. Even the LAPD said that and said he didn't shoot him. There have been court cases now proving there was CIA there when RFK got shot. So this is so crazy that you've got him getting $30,000+, like $27,000 in one check and $7,000, $8,000 in another, over $30,000 in DARPA, Department of Defense Advanced Research Laboratories funding to him in a secret brain program that he'd been in since high school. I mean, he was brought in from high school into college programs. Only the smartest do they do that with in the testing. And then here he is, been in college for years. Everything's paid for with this grant. And he's got an Air Force psychologist, psychiatrist, top level over him. And then they report multiple smoke bombs and multiple shooters. He tells people in the jail, I was drugged. I was under mind control. That came out in the local news. And then they said, oh, no, he wasn't around any prisoners, even though for weeks they'd reported the first few days he was with those prisoners next door to him, and now he was hissing and screaming and yelling. Now he's off the drugs, says he doesn't remember anything. They're keeping him very sequestered, and now they want to drug him again to go back to being the personality he was, the personality that thinks he did the shooting or may have done the shooting or taken part in it. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, they could take even a strong-willed person like myself. They could take you. And they can, with shock therapy, LSD, PCP, peyote, halcyon, other amnesics, sodium pentothal, they can make you chop your newborn baby up. They can make you think you're another person. They can make you, if you have the skills, be an opera singer. I mean, they can program you. And again, it's in the MKUltra, MK Naomi congressional hearings in the 70s. This has all come out, okay? And I'm ranting. We're going to go to John Rappaport, who's an expert on this, and he's written the article, The CIA, James Holmes, MKUltra, and Truth Serum Torture. But here's the psyop on everybody. They're reporting they're going to drug him with mind control drugs, 3 of them. We're going to list them here, in public. So this is the new thing. They're going to not just drug you till you say you did something in the jail without charging you, as they've done in cases. Some people in federal prison for 10 years before trial, drugging them, saying they're mentally ill, getting him ready for trial. In the case of Dr. Sell, a dentist who they said did Medicare fraud, he fought it, so they just grabbed him and drugged him in Kansas City. So imagine this. There's so many cases of this now where they're grabbing lawyers that sue Williamson County north of Austin, and so they go arrest the lawyer and commit him for 2 years. I mean, this is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. And now they're out in the open going, yeah, we're now going to drug Americans for trial with mind control drugs. This is now Gitmo going mainstream. Now, I'm ranting. I want to go directly to John Rappaport, but it's just like they hide Obama being the head of al-Qaeda publicly and commanding al-Qaeda. And so we've put the headline out, Obama now global head of al-Qaeda. That sounds crazy because it is absurdist. You've got to counter absurdist garbage by stating how absurdist it is, not processing it and watering it down. Now, John, I'm ranting here, but what is your take on this being out in the open? What does this signify? Are they all going to start publicly drugging us for trial so we say we did bad things?
Yeah, this is MKUltra going mainstream, Alex. This is exactly that. This is the old CIA program and the new CIA program. This is, we're going to drug you till you say what we want you to say. And what most people don't realize about MKUltra was it started out, one big part of it, as we're going to find a truth drug. You know, this was back in the early 50s. They couldn't find one. In other words, these drugs don't work to make you tell the truth. What they do is they destroy your mind, or they terrify you to the point where you will say what they want you to say. That's the big difference. And when they hit on LSD as the drug of choice, that's why they used it. It wasn't a truth drug. It didn't make people tell the truth. You don't download the truth out of somebody's mind with one of these drugs. What you do is you either destroy their mind altogether, make them into a complete babbling idiot, or you bring them to the point where they're so terrified because of the dosage levels, you say to them, okay, you get the point now? Do you want to have this again? Or are you going to tell what we want you to tell? And this is, of course, all science. This is all neurology. This is all psychiatry. This is all the very best of the legal system. This is the brutal, incredibly torturous. This is torture. This is what MKUltra was. And now they're just mainstreaming it right out in the open. Here's what's going to happen to James Holmes. And we're going to call it a narcoanalytic review. So it all sounds very fancy and so forth. And I'll tell you one other thing, Alex. The hacks who are the psychiatrists at the Colorado State mental system hospitals, they don't know anything about this. I mean, they're not the pros or the experts. They're going to have to bring in pros from the agencies that really know how to work these drugs.
Oh, no, they're going to probably bring in his very handlers that ran the operation.
Exactly. And CIA people will be there. The people who have worked on this before. It'll all
No, I'm saying I bet it's going to be, that'll be the prime suspect. I bet, look for who actually programmed him to be who the expert they send. Because listen, McVeigh had Jolyon West, #2 under MKUltra, congressional hearings, admittedly one of the fathers of modern mind control, assigned to him for the decade before they executed him weekly. From the time he was arrested to executed, Jolyon West was there.
Exactly.
And then as soon as McVeigh would get off the drugs, he'd tell people, no, I'm special forces, they set me up. And that's exactly what sworn affidavits from 3 different people say.
Well, this is the same kind of thing. You bring in the handler, you bring in the person who is controlling, just like in the CIA. You know, I'm your case officer, so you report back to me. So they're going to puff this guy up to the point where he's going to come back into court. He's going to make some kind of bland statement like, yeah, I know I did it. Yes, that's true. I still have problems. And then they'll just warehouse this guy for the rest of his life and destroy his mind, whether it's in prison or in a psych ward. It doesn't really matter.
That's right.
That's what's going to happen.
This is unprecedented, though. But the story, this is the cherry on top, where they lied and said he was never around other inmates when the inmates said, multiple ones, yeah, he said he was under mind control. That came out in the Denver papers. They went, oh, no, he was never around people, even though they'd all admitted he had been. The fact that they're covering up the notebook, the fact that he's got this high-level top Air Force psychiatrist over him, he's in a DARPA program. I mean, how transparent does this have to be? And now they're going to drug him with a mind, they're talking about several mind control drugs to make him tell the truth. I mean, this is like total mainlining of this.
Absolutely. And of course, when he was arrested, you know, first you had the story that he was there at the exit of the theater the night of the shooting, and he just said, I did it, or something like that. And by the way, I've wired my entire apartment with explosives, so don't go near it. That was the first incredible, you know, bizarre story.
And that was so they could send in a special federal team to cover up the 7 medications that later still leaked. See, they don't have everybody under their control, but you see all the signs of the classic cover-up right there. There's no doubt in my mind now that Aurora was 100% staged.
An operation. The second story was, well, wait a minute, we actually found him in his car, and he was drugged, and he didn't really know what was going on, and, you know, but we're not going to tell that story again. That's just a rumor and so on and so forth.
Yeah, he's drooling in the car out waiting. I mean, they did that with Sirhan. Turned out they pinned his arm, all his bullets shot in the wall. And then we know the CIA agent's name, who was assigned to security, who worked at the Skunk Works, shot him in the back. I mean, it's in the in the LAPD file. It's public.
Absolutely. And Special Unit Senator was the name of the LAPD, you know, office that was especially created to investigate the Bobby Kennedy assassination, saying, no feds, no anybody. This is our special unit Well, because we've got all the evidence. We can destroy it right away. We can distort it. We can do anything, and we can blame it all on Sirhan, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we see this repeated time and time and time again with these mind control subjects that are put out there as the patsies, and then they're tuned up afterwards, so they say the right things, you know, as long as necessary to put them away out of sight so that nobody will ever hear from them again, and they move right on to the next one.
Well, that's what they did with McVeigh, is he would disappear for weeks when Wes would show up, who recently died, and he'd come back not knowing who he was. They'd been electroshocking him, the reports are, and then they'd bring him back because he'd start waking up and going, I'm Special Forces. They did this to me. Remember the state police found him drooling on the side of the road saying, help me, I've got a chip in my butt? Remember that?
Right, absolutely. And then the story they told, of course, you know, this was a perfect plan. This was the FBI talking, this incredibly brilliant plan, except the guy who did it just happened to have a license plate hanging off his car as he drove away, and that's why we stopped him on a lonely road, and that's how we put him in jail. You know, there were so many contradictions on that story.
Well, the state police report said, drooling, begging, it burns, I've got a chip in my butt. That's the quote.
Right. Well, you know, the public, as long as they keep buying this dumb show, we're going to see more and more and more of these because, I mean, you can't get any more ridiculous than this thing that's happening with Holmes now. I mean, it's there. It's right out in the open. Yes, we're going to drug this guy, and then he'll say what we want him to say. I mean, anybody can read between the lines on this story and realize that's what we're talking about.
Well, take the fake Pentagon trials of all these drugged up people that confess to bombings that happened while they were in jail and stuff, and from waterboarding and drugging. And they admit they have a camp within X-ray where they do all the drugging, and the CIA doctors have a laboratory testing this stuff in there. Even the officers on the fake tribunal have been quitting and stuff and saying this is all a fraud. What do you make of them publicly admitting they run Al-Qaeda? And now Karzai coming out, and then, but still we've got to give our rights up because of Al-Qaeda. More and more, it's like their whole system is out in the open, and we have the choice to believe it or not believe it. Is that by design, John? Because I know you study mind control deeply.
I think it's like a test run, you see. How stupid are people going to be? If we stand up and tell them the truth, what's the response going to be? Because here's how the programming works. You get somebody into a hypnotic trance over years and years of lies in the media, I mean, that kind of trance over and over again, and all of a sudden you stand up and you tell the truth about something. This creates such an incredible cognitive dissonance in most people that they pretend they've never even heard it. This is what happens. We didn't hear that. What do you mean Al-Qaeda? What do you mean drugging, you know, Holmes? What? No, that's impossible. People will actually deny the truth even when the officials admit to it because the programming is so heavy that, you know, it's like, what? Here are my choices. I stay hypnotized or I believe suddenly the truth is looking right at me, in which case, you know, I have to reject all of my life. Well, they know that people aren't going to do that. So they do these little test runs and they say, look, there's only, you know, 1/10 of 1% of people that are saying, what's going on here? The rest are still asleep.
Well, I mean, look, let's punch this up for TV viewers. Slate.com just came out and said, can truth serum prove that James Holmes is sane, too high to lie? They're engaged in openly drugging people. The guy's never known who he is. He looked like textbook wide open mind control, went off the drugs for days while he was with the cops flopping around. After it comes out and says, they drugged me, this is mind control, help me. He tells a whole jail listening, help me, help me. And then we go, hey, he says they drugged him. And they go, oh, no, we didn't. No, no one heard him say that. I mean, this is one of the most incredible mind control things I've ever seen out in the open. And they're just reporting it like, oh, yeah, and they're spinning it. We're going to drug him to make him tell the truth, too high to lie, when they drug you to make you highly suggestible to say whatever they want.
That's right. Either make you highly suggestible or torture you. I mean, because these things are torture. Truth serum is torture. It's not there to get the truth.
It's an anxiety drug.
Exactly. It's there to put you into the kind of panic where you would do anything to get out of it. Anything. And then they say to you, okay, here's what we want you to do. Here's what we want you to say. Are you going to do it, or are we going to do this to you again? I mean, people have to understand that. All this business about Gitmo and waterboarding and everything Did you ever hear in any of the media stories that they were saying, and we're using drugs on these prisoners? No, it was all about isolation tanks and waterboarding and making fun of people and all of that nonsense. Of course they're using drugs.
It came out, and even in the Washington Post, like it was a good thing, like 8 years ago, that they brought in, quote, prostitutes who were, I hate to, if families listening, tell kids to tune out right now, women dressed in devil outfits doing satanic rituals, raping the men while they were menstruating to totally freak them out while they were on hallucinogens. Can you imagine being some 14-year-old from Afghanistan who they want to become a new al-Qaeda operative? That's why they manufacture them there. That's why they keep saying, why do they all become bombers? And women are dancing around while you're on drugs, raping you with blood everywhere. I mean, it's just... And the truth is, they're just Satanists. The truth is, the CIA people just are engaged in Satanism. This is just their excuse in under national security to do this. Why'd they rape kids at all 30-something camps in Afghanistan and Iraq? Because they like it. That's why. These are Satanists.
This is what happens when you have an agency where nobody knows from the beginning, 1947, 48, all the way up until now. Nobody knows what they've been doing. I mean, untold amounts of billions of dollars in the announced budget, and then you got the black budget that nobody knows about. And it's sort of like, okay, guys, this is it. You go back to the original MKUltra program, and you will see quotes from people saying things like, we were free and wild, and we could do anything we wanted to. There was a guy named George White who set up a brothel in San Francisco where the prostitutes were giving their Johns LSD, unknown to the Johns. And the CIA guys were looking through peepholes at all of this.
And that's only the cover. They were doing it to mayors and people.
Hey, we're Americans, red-blooded Americans, wild and free, and we can do whatever we want to with no restraint. Well, that's what you get.
And that's just the whitewash. You know, what about the people they threw off buildings?
You bet. Frank Olson out of a hotel window. Sure, absolutely. This was all going on under Sidney Gottlieb's leadership. Helms, all these people. And what came out in the church hearings, Frank Church hearings in the 1970s before he died mysteriously. And
then it came out that Ewing Cameron and Jolly and West were running operations with kids snatched off the streets.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com. Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the ProOne high-performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants. So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to decide that you love reality. You've got to decide that you want the truth, because there is a war on reality where they're trying to overthrow common sense. You've got to decide that you want to stand with the truth. And stop giving into the lie that going along with corruption is going to make it easy on you. That's what lets it grow, okay? You need to get an instinct to dislike oppressors and liars and scammers. See, they've got people now where it's like, oh, yeah, we lie about drones, and we tell you it doesn't exist. And then now you see Michael Moore, who really is a demon, licking his lips going, we had dead kid photos, we'd get their guns. Yeah, if Harry Reid's little grandkids were all shot up and dead, we'd get the guns. He's just like, yeah, and you look at the little kids, they're dead now. I mean, these are monsters, folks. They know, okay? And believe me, if they'll, you know, Lindsey Graham's like, yeah, we kill 100 people per drone attack or whatever, collateral damage, we don't care. These men are heroes. We're not the SS. Yeah, you're 10 times probably worse if you could get there. You know, they really want to become pure evil. And of course they'll do Columbine. And you look at that, same story, government run. I don't just say that. You think it's fun to know that? I wish it was just lone crazies. Almost every mass shooting is not even a copycat. There's a few that are copycats with all the media hype. It is government run from pillar to post. From pillar to post, folks, pillar to post. You are collateral damage. They teach military, going back more than 4,000 years, about a gambit. It is a Persian military move where, and it's been adopted across the board, where you put out 100 horsemen in a valley to draw in the main military force so you can attack them from both sides in a pincer. That's generally one of the basic cavalry moves. And you know your 100 horsemen are going to be wiped out. But the argument is, I would have lost the whole battle and lost 10,000 horsemen if I wouldn't have killed my 100. That's why they send special forces on death missions. And being in a command position is all about accepting the lesser of two evils and all this, which is a lie. End justifies the means. Machiavelli. It is a lie, folks, because pretty soon, let's run al-Qaeda, because the public won't do what we want in the Middle East. And then they radicalize the Muslims to begin with. John, am I on target with what I'm saying here? Because this is a gambit. They are staging these events. They are the ones, the globalists, the people you see on TV. I guarantee you, these top senators, folks, they got hands in it. I can look at them, and the lip licking, whenever Feinstein licks her lips and goes, there's going to be more events, we're going to get the guns, and she licks. It's a little enjoyment. Oh, the little enjoyment. I mean, do you agree with what I'm saying, or have I gone too far?
No, I don't disagree at all. They're staging events. I mean, this is the basis on which the whole CIA was founded. If you think about it, they went out into the world. We're going to stage events and change reality. That was their mandate. It wasn't just to find out information. It was to create new reality.
False flags all over the world.
All over the world, all the time. Because, look, just from a strategic point of view, tactical point of view, it's a heck of a lot easier to stage your own fake events and then come in afterwards than it is to actually go out there as an intelligence agency and find out what's happening in the world. And they figured that out in about 5 minutes. Hey, guys, we don't have to find out anything. All we have to do is to create reality. We stage events, tell the public what it means, rally support, and here we go into another war. It's easy, and that's what they did.
Exactly, and I've talked to a lot of good old boys that go, well, that's what America does to get ahead. And I go, okay, let's say we're Machiavelli. We're not getting ahead. They're going to use this on us, you moron. Yeah. Do you get it? So many people play the part like they're part of the structure. What do you call that?
They're not getting ahead. They're losing. They're a bunch of losers who want to be attached to what they think is a winner. But it's not a winning proposition on any way you want to judge it. It's going down.
Well, I mean, I could just feel God, you call it the universe, whatever you want, anger at this. I mean, this does not go well. One of the few reasons I've been successful is because I am real, and I'm fundamentally upset about this. I mean, when they're publicly MKUltraing people on TV now, and I know they staged the shooting, that freaks me out. And I know I'm in danger doing this, but I'm in greater danger if we don't oppose these people in even the medium term. That's why I get so upset, because I know this is an animating contest for liberty. I know this is for all the marbles. I know how much danger we're in. And I'm genuinely freaked out, folks. You can't just deny this and it goes away. I mean, these are hardcore killers that run our government now and that run the world, and they want to impoverish us. John Rappaport, I've been ranting, but just how do we get people out of their trance? Because I've come out with the article, Obama is the head of al-Qaeda worldwide. Will White House target the White House? Thinking people are like, well, that's absurdist. No, they are the head, and if they're saying they're going to go after al-Qaeda with drones, will Obama order a strike on himself? I mean, it's that absurdist. You've got to point it out to get people to wake up to the illusion. Do you see my point?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's the way you do get people to wake up. You show them the absurdity of what they're already believing. Like Obama comes out after Sandy Hook and he says, guess what? I just had this idea that we're going to do a 10-year, billion-dollar project with DARPA, with universities, to map the entire brain. You know, how absurd. And now this is going to be wonderful. We're going to cure all these diseases and so forth. This is completely absurd. All of a sudden, you just point out to people, hey, look, don't you understand what they're trying to do? They're trying to control the brain completely. That's why they're putting the money in here. They're not trying to...
And they're saying something they obviously were involved in and staged. We need this mind control to stop something we did.
Exactly. There you go. So that puts the cap on the absurdity. Yeah, we did this over here. Now we use that to promote this over here, and you're going along with it, right? Because you're idiots. So, you want to wake up? Yeah. Do you want to wake up? Or do you want to stay asleep? And this is shoving it in people's faces. The absurdity of this, Alex, is exactly what wakes people up.
Well, look at Operation Ajax. First destabilization thing after World War II, 1947, MI6, commanding CIA, Kermit Roosevelt, president's, nephew, and former president's nephew. And they do mass shootings all over the country and blame the government for it. I mean, it's a fake, false flag mass shooting. And it worked. It worked. Why not do it here?
Do it over and over again. 1995, you had the Committee on Radiation Experiments, government hearings. All of a sudden, 2 witnesses got up and said, yeah, we received radiation when we were little kids, but this was part of a mind control program that we were involved in. We had been basically captured by military and CIA handlers. All this is on the record. They testified. There were people in the room. You can find this.
I want to come back when everybody's there. Some stations don't carry this and get into that. Ewing Cameron, I knew about it, but I saw a History Channel thing like 10 years ago, an hour special, where they admitted they would take foster kids and also grab kids off the streets. And in the U.S. and in Maryland, but also in Canada, they had a base, and actually create fake identity and total program mind control slaves. And this is real. This is what they admit. Can you imagine? And then his number 2 becomes the doctor for McVeigh. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And this guy, Ewan Cameron, was the most decorated psychiatrist in the world at the time. He was president of every psychiatric society you can imagine. And not only did they grab kids off the street and put them through this horrendous program of trying to create new personalities.
Electroshock.
By torture, electroshock, Nembutal, putting them to sleep for 30 days in a row with drugs, tapes playing over and over again.
You stay there. Come back. I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to gag myself. Gentlemen, bring in. Oh, you got to do it as a little piece where I get tied up during the piece. Like Hannibal Lecter. I'm the Hannibal Lecter of talk radio.
Jakari Jackson here, and I want to talk to you for a second about water. You know about ProPur, our flagship water purification system, but check out some of our portable water filter products at INFOWARSstore.com. The clearly filtered water pitcher. Also, for those of you on the go, we have the Athlete Edition filtered water bottle and the RAD Eliminator Pro filtered sports bottle that removes radiation. And keep in mind, we have replacement filters for all of these products. The ever-popular grab-and-go bag favorite, the Life Straw, the Crystal Quest shower filter system, and the Aquapod kit, great for mass storage of water. And while you're at the InfoWars shop, pick up a copy of our latest book, 31 Days to Survival. You can find all this and more at the InfoWarsStore.com, and don't forget it's your support that funds our operation. Sign up for our free newsletter at InfoWars.com/newsletter.
One reason I know that it's government psyops that is always running around saying I work for the CIA and all this stuff is because whenever I admit that I've had quite a bit of family that was in the CIA, they never attack that or go ferret into that because that's operations. That's connected to their system. They don't want that looked at. That's why they make up outlandish stuff about me, because they don't want you to believe there could be a real person standing up for liberty. The info I'm giving you, I don't want you to trust me. I want you to go look into it. I want you to go find out that when we talk about mind control, that it's a real thing. And that once you know what it is, you see it going on and you catch them red-handed. And I've told a few of the CIA stories, just from, anybody I know in my family. They recruited heavily, out of farming areas in Texas. And I talked to people, or other family talks to people that were in the CIA. They were almost all Army officers. That's where they recruit from, who were combat veterans, who they then bring into it. And all of the people in my family got out of it. That's another lie that you don't get out of it. That's pure bull, ladies and gentlemen. And the point is, they won't ever even really talk much about it. Just, it's unspeakably horrible. They run everything. The murder, the drugs, all of it. One great uncle, it was basically, told my dad about it, and then I asked about it a little bit. He said, I'm not getting into that. But yeah, what was like, okay, you're an Army officer. We're sheep dipping you. He'd been in the Army for like 15 years, all over the world. And he said, we're now going to have you, this is your graduation, not as just a asset, but as a officer, as this full-blown CIA agent. And it was dealing drugs and reportedly killing people in Chicago. And he said, I'm not doing that, and got out of it. And I mean, but listen, it's the same story with like anybody that I talk to. And folks, because it's not like it's a big deal that, oh, they really wanted to recruit, out of some of the Alex Jones's relatives. There's CIA everywhere. It's like Jesse Ventura goes down on the first day at work. They go, somebody wants to talk to you in the bottom of the Capitol. He goes down there. There's 26, whatever it was, CIA people. They were like little old ladies and guys that looked like milkmen or, beer men or whatever. And they were CIA. And wouldn't even say who they were, but it was national security. It's giant, ladies and gentlemen. And there's like 15, 16 agencies and private merc groups. And it's so evil. It is a mafia with mind control. And again, it works for the foreign banks. And there's all these movies about the CIA loves you and the red flag, red, white, and blue, and oh my gosh. And they do have the light side that does the analyst stuff and that they send in. They send in the good guys are all like a joke. They send them out on commando missions to be killed. And again, they laugh at them. And I've talked to Joel Scalzon, who's, had those connections in family and stuff. Same story, same deal. Ladies and gentlemen, they get the most gung-ho, meanest people they can. And then they see, are you evil, tough guy, or are you a nice, tough guy? And the nice, tough guys are cannon fodder. So I'm going to warn everybody. If you're a police officer and they want you to work for the feds and do bombing drills, they're going to blow something up. Maybe not your time, but down the road, they're going to blow something up, say a cop did it, to say the cops are terrorists, when the feds want to have a purge of you. When they want to, if you're military, they want you to join an intelligence agency and infiltrate criminal groups. They're going to burn you down the road and say, you do what we say and help load up these toddlers on a C-130 10 years after you're into it, or we're going to expose all your bank robberies and all your drug dealing. I mean, that's all this is about compromising everybody, okay? That's all this is. And they're going to destroy our culture because they're into it. Now, I'm ranting. In this segment, the next, John Rappaport, break down mind control. As you were getting into, Jolly and West, his controller, Dr. Ewing Cameron. What is admitted for people that don't know, so why we know James Holmes is under mind control? Go ahead.
Ewing Cameron, as I was starting to say before we went to the break, not only were they pulling people off the street, but people were coming to him as patients. Somebody walks into his office. Here's a famous psychiatrist up in Canada. I'm not feeling very well, and I think I need some. Oh, sure, whatever. And all of a sudden, that person, from anywhere, could be you, could be your cousin, could be anybody, is now in a program where they're being put to sleep for 30 days with heavy, heavy drugs, wakened in the middle of the night for electroshock treatments 20 to 40 times higher than the usual torture of shock treatments. Then they're going to be listening to Ewing Cameron with these tapes saying over and over again how he's creating a new personality.
Headphones.
And then they spit that out the other side. New person. Yeah, new person, totally destroyed. Totally destroyed. And of course, you can read about this because there were lawsuits eventually brought, and it was proven that Cameron was working on a contract via the CIA, and they had to pay out some pittance of money to these people. But this was just one little pocket of what MKUltra was all about, destroying people totally to give them new synthetic personalities.
And again, they even have History Channel shows admitting it all. And of course, it was also because they like to abuse kids. That's really the cover. Is the mind control and erasing their memories, but expanding on that. You describe how, not just kids off the street, wealthy people would bring in their daughter who was depressed at age 10, because they describe all the cases, thousands and thousands, something like 10,000 plus kids they know about, And they'd say, oh, just commit her here. I'll make her perfect in a year. And they'd go, here, take our daughter, you know, worshiping the psychiatrist because he's God. And they would literally electroshock, drug them, you know, rape them, everything else. And, oh, that couldn't be true. The doctor wouldn't do something like that.
And let me tie that in, Alex, with what happens in ordinary psychiatry, see, because people have this false firewall that they build between MKUltra and the CIA and psychiatry. Just forget about that. Erase that wall. You're in a university. You're a student. You're feeling a little bit jittery, anxious about exams, whatever. You go in to see the psychologist. You get referred. And you're sitting in a psychiatrist's office. And then they give you a prescription for a drug. And this is based on a story by Peter Breggin in his famous book, Toxic Psychiatry. This was a girl that he calls Roberta. And, you know, she has some anxiety about dating. And so ends up this drug. Well, we don't think that's the one. We'll give you this drug. No. And finally, they're putting her on serious, heavy antipsychotic drugs. And she gets to the point where she can no longer talk, function. This is a bright girl from a decent home, went to college. Hey, the American way. She's mumbling. She can't move without tremoring. She's knocking her head against the wall all the time. And eventually she comes to a general practitioner who says, this is all from the drugs. They've destroyed her life. She's never going to be the same. And nobody's prosecuted, nobody's criticized. Oh, it's a psychiatrist who did this. This could happen to any student on any campus at any university.
And let me tell you who it happened to in the early 1960s. There was a man named Ted Kaczynski. You may have heard of him, the Unabomber. And I believe they had him to cut out the whole time to put out that eugenics-based report he put out as a publicity stunt. But he, in the L.A. Times, Alexander Cochran was the one who exposed it in the L.A. Times, God rest his soul, recently passed. I believe I read that. I mean, double-check that. My memory fails. The point is, he wrote about, it was declassified. Theodore Kaczynski was in the MKUltra mind control program. He went in to a psychologist, psychiatrist, and they drugged him. He disappeared into the program for years, comes out, but the media says there's no connection to his unibombing. There, you don't just have MKUltra shooters, you've got MKUltra bombers.
That's right. People disappear, they come back. Oh, yes, I was in this program. Yes, I went to see a psychiatrist. This is what happened, and so on and so forth. And the public doesn't want to believe this, you see. But this is what you have to look at and understand.
And by the way, here's the headline. We're reaping tragic legacy from drugs. The government LSD experiments to overuse of drugs like Ritalin. The consequences are overwhelming. And is that the one that's got the, yeah, there it is. Theodore Kaczynski was in a CIA, Harvard, MKUltra mind control experiments, L.A. Times. But I was saying double check is I think Alexander Cochran passed recently. I think I know he did, but I want to double check that. Go ahead there, John.
Yeah. So you've got this kind of a program that spreads out tentacles all over the country. And as I was saying, in 1995, all of a sudden, you had two women testifying before the President's Committee on Radiation Experiments saying, yeah, but that was just a small part of what we were into since the time we were children. We were basically tortured by Army doctors, CIA doctors in a mind control program that radiation was just a small part of. And the idea was they wanted to make us into sex agents and assassins. And this is taking place in a committee room in Washington, D.C., before a panel and an audience in the room, and they get through testifying, and the panel is absolutely silent. And then one person says, well, thank you very much. Next witness will please come up, as if nothing ever happened. And as these two witnesses walk back from testifying, people in the audience get up and go over to them and say, thank God you said something, because I was here to talk about radiation too, but the same thing happened to me that happened to you.
And the truth is, people ask, where's the New World Order going? It's the trip, not the destination. The destination is kill everybody because that's their dream. Then they use a cosmetic environmental excuse. They all like raping little children and stuff, and so they do it under national security. Or some of them like killing kids, you know. Joseph Mengele would take kids out almost every day, give them chocolate bars and shoot them in the head because he said he liked to watch the spouts of blood out the top of their head. He didn't like to rape them. He liked to torture them.
It's about the fact that they're now going to do anthrax vaccine on children. I mean, this to me is like, yeah, we want to destroy children and kill children because we like to do it.
And they admit it killed large numbers of our troops, totally deadly, and they're going to get us used to killing our kids right there in the, a lot of them will die.
I mean, there's no other possible reason that they're going to test this anthrax vaccine on kids, because they know it's completely destructive and toxic. They know kids have nothing to do with any sort of national security baloney. They're doing it because they want to do it. Yeah, we want to do it. We want to give this to kids to torture them and to destroy them.
It is such a fun thing for them to, exactly, because they admit they don't want to kill you quickly. There's nothing more beautiful than them, a child having debilitating stuff for like 20 years and then dying horrible deaths. I mean, that is just a beautiful thing. The worse the cancer, the more horrible, the more debilitating, hurting little children. It's so beautiful to them. And it's a gift to Lucifer, their God. We'll be right back. All right, people are really getting what I'm saying with Obama now, global head of Al-Qaeda. Will President order drone strikes on the White House on himself, like Eagle Eye, where the computer is told go after, you know, criminals, and so it goes after the government because it sees the government as criminal. Now, again, I'm saying we're battling absurdity with absurdity. We're not manufacturing the absurdity. We are actually showing the absurdity, because he is supposedly the head of the U.S. military, and then that really controls NATO and has the, you know, dominant voting in that. And it's running Al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria publicly, and now Mohammed Karzai's come out that they're running it in Afghanistan and all these other places. That's there. So he is the head of Al-Qaeda, the titular head, bare minimum. And so my point is, it shows they're running Al-Qaeda, but they're saying they can kill Americans anytime they want with that precedent if they think you're even connected to a group that might be connected, but, you know, 3 layers of separation to Al-Qaeda. And it's just a joke, so we're calling their hoax. Other media is like, why does our government give missiles to Al-Qaeda and run them and let them travel around? And why did the head of number 2 in Al-Qaeda meet secretly at the Pentagon, Amer al-Awlaki, Fox News? And then no one calls it for what it is. I'm calling it for what it is, and it's absurd. It is absurd that the government runs Al-Qaeda. It is absurd that if they were really fighting Al-Qaeda, they would call drone strikes on themselves, which they're puppets as well. I hope that doesn't happen. We wish them long lives in prison. The point is that I know the White House listens. Media Matters listens. They're on record. They do. They respond to us because no one else out there at this level is calling them out. Let me close with this. John Rappaport of NoMoreFakeNews.com. You're a smart guy. You know your history. Why do you think I'm still on the air? Why do you think you're able to do what you do? And what do you think of my point I just made? Because I saw some commenter saying, Alex has joined them saying fight absurdity with absurdity. No. I am stating how absurd it is. Not making stuff up. I am equalizing it, saying this is what it really is. Isn't that absurd? Can you talk about the subtleties of that or why we're still alive?
Well, I think we're still alive because there are a lot of people that are listening. And it would be a little bit maybe crossing over the line to try to, eliminate that voice. I mean, I don't know how many million people are listening to this thing right now or going to tap into it in the next few days, because you're making the point all the way, Alex. That's the thing, you see. You're not saying, well, I think I've got a story and it's really big and I'm going to break it in 6 weeks. No, it's right now in your face totally. In fact, I think that NBC should put you on to replace Jay Leno, and I'll be your sidekick. I'll be your resident. And we'll sit there and you say, hey, Cindy, you're now 15 years old and you sold 12 billion records already as a pop singer. Tell me, were you part of the CIA mind control program? Oh, Alex, of course I was. Let me tell you about what happened to me in Virginia. We'll go on and do this stuff every night on a Tonight Show, and then we'll really see what happens.
Because the fraud, see, people say that patriots bring them into Alice in Wonderland, that we take them down the rabbit hole. John, aren't we trying to take people out of the Alice in Wonderland, out of the rabbit hole?
Yeah, you see, here's the operation. You tie ropes around their ankles, and you lower them all the way down to the rabbit hole, and then you say, see? And then you bring them back up again. That's what we're doing.
Oh, that's even better than what I was saying. Exactly, you've got to, well, basically, you're already in Alice in Wonderland. We've got to get the blinders off so they see it.
That's right. Take the blinders off. Look where we are. This is Wonderland. There's the Mad Hatter over there, and so on and so forth. They're all here, you know? They're all sitting in the White House.
I agree with you, though. You wrote an article after my Piers Morgan, and I think you're dead on. You weren't just saying that. It shook them because it went all the way. It just called the little man behind the curtain.
There you go. This is the thing. You see, some people would say, no. When Alex was on the Pierce, you see, he should have presented point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, this is why guns are okay, whatever. No, that's just playing right into their hands. Don't you get it, people? I mean, come on. So Alex goes on, and Pierce says, okay, now tonight we're going to, and that's all. That's all, folks. He was finished because Alex jumped all over him. Bang. That's what you do. You don't go halfway, you go all the way.
That's right. What has enslaved us is going halfway. Notice the globalists aren't going halfway, are they?
No. Yeah, right. We want to control half the world, right? No, they're not saying that, right? Yeah. We'll take the southern hemisphere and let you folks alone up top.
Hey, John, do you need to go?
I don't need to do anything. I'm here.
Well, you know what? I've dedicated it. Even though it's good banter back and forth, still, I like to let people roll. I'm just going to give you the next 30 minutes. You're going to host the show when we come back for 2 segments to really get into how to flip the script, how to cause that chain reaction that they fear so much, why they won't have me back on CNN, why their producers were crying and freaking out. Mind control, the news, all of it with John Rappaport, nomorefakenews.com. I'm Alex Jones. Help us get our article, Obama Now Global Head of Al-Qaeda. Go all the way. That's what it is. Call it like it is. It's absurd, but it's real. Get it out there. John Rappaport's coming back after this quick break. He's going to host the next 2 segments of the transmission. John, thanks for being on the show with us, buddy.
Thank you, Alex. It's great.
You're in command when we come back in 3 minutes.
Sitting in for Alex Jones on the Alex Jones Show for the last half hour. I think Alex is going to go off to NBC and work the Tonight Show tonight because obviously they're getting rid of Jay Leno. They don't need him anymore. What we need is the truth. And that's what Alex and I touched on in the last segment here. And I want to just blast this home further. The point is, if you go halfway, you lose. That's why when he went on with Piers Morgan and just got completely into his face, it broke that hypnotic spell that everybody's used to when they're watching television. Oh, this is very civilized, and yes, we have these people over here, and oh, George Stephanopoulos disagrees with Chris Matthews. Oh, yes, and you know, this is all the charade. This is all the puppet show. This is all for the purpose of mind control. Mind control through information to get you to accept the idea that Brian Williams, knows more about reality than we could possibly imagine. Therefore, we have to tune into him every night and go into a state of trance as he tells us what's happening on the news. So what Alex is saying is, no, you go all the way when you tell the truth because they're lying all the way. The globalists don't want just half the planet. They want everything, and that's what they're going for. What do you think mind control programs that the CIA have been running for years are all about? It's to totally destroy the individual human being and remake the human being. That's what they're trying to do. It's not, oh, let's just shift a few little things here. Let me just fill you in on a couple things. We talked about Ewan Cameron, the Canadian researcher who was the head of the World Psychiatric Society, decorated from here to the moon in the 1950s, and was remaking people's personalities as patients, whether they liked it or not. They would just come into his office, and all of a sudden, they would be enrolled in a couple of month-long program, put them to sleep for 20 or 30 days on end with Nembutal, Thorazine, compounds like that, which are brain destroying, wake them up in the middle of the night, give them incredibly heavy shock treatments at 20 to 40 times the strength of ordinary shock treatments, which are already torture. This is torture, by the way, nothing else. And then he would subject them to 12 to 16 hours a day, day after day, of his audio tapes, instructing them on what person they were going to be now. This is important. This is what you're going to be. The man was making over a human being into a machine, destroying human lives. Eventually, suits were filed years and years later. CIA was implicated, admitted it, paid out a pittance. This is just a peek into what the real purpose of the mind control program is, you see. They're going all the way. That's my point. If they're going all the way, we have to go all the way. Absolutely. And that's why Alex is extraordinarily successful in what he's doing because he's going all the way as a human being. So why can't you? Why can't I? Why can't anybody go all the way with what the truth of the situation is? It was Jose Delgado, a Yale researcher, very, very exclusive elite researcher, who said in the 1950s, the human being does not have an inherent right to his own personality. What do you think these people are doing with technocracy and the whole mind-brain interface? Oh, yes, we're going to hook you up to machines and computers, and life is going to be completely different in the next coming 10, 20 years because these computers are going to be able to do more than the brain could ever do before, and we're going to have a human-machine future. They want to totally remake over the human being into a slave, into a machine. That's what it's all about. They can say it's not, they can say it's this, it's that, but that's where the program is going. They're going all the way. So what about you in telling the truth? Is it better to just say, well, you see, it's quite possible that they may have made an error in their calculation about the following. Are we going to just keep carrying on a conversation at that level when the truth is right there for anybody who wants to see it and say it and put it out there? Put it out there. Don't stint. Don't hold yourself back. What's happening now in America with money, with the economic collapse, which is being lied about, as been documented on INFOWARS, from one end to the other, about employment figures. Oh, yes, well, we're making a strong comeback here. No, we're not making a strong comeback here. Not making a strong comeback at all. The people who have been put out of work are stopping to look for work, or they're getting low-paying jobs, just anything to survive. It was destruction by plan, to torpedo the economies of the world, worse than they're already being torpedoed, to go all the way and destroy these economies, to steal all your money, and then to say, well, you're angry about that? Really? We have to declare martial law. We have to put in a state of emergency. I mean, we're doing the best we can to reignite the economy in the coming months, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lying, 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 lying. The operation, the globalist operation, is to destroy economies of every nation, to put them all the way under, and to rebuild a cashless, digitized money system from the ground up based on the lie that it is somehow more humane and fair and just and humanitarian and, all of that for the population, that we redo the whole money system because we don't have any social justice. No social justice with the present money system. We're going to have to redo it all. That's where they're going. And then, as Alex has been talking about, as I've been talking about, others have been talking about, every single transaction in the world will be tracked and followed by their machines and equipment. Oh, the wonderful new computers we have with built-in algorithms that will monitor the cashless money system of the planet. Is that going all the way? You bet it's going all the way. Every single purchase transaction will be tracked in real time and taxed in real time. You won't have any choice about what you pay, what they steal from you. That's where they're heading with this. And as my good friend Catherine Austin Fitz said, this is what they'll hide behind. The algorithm. Well, we've all put it on the computer now. We have the model and the algorithm, and this is the way the new money system is going to work. And so that's just the way it is. It's the best there is. Don't blame us. It's the computers. Yeah, sure it is. Sure it is. That's where they're heading with this. The science fiction that we all thought about 20 years ago is here now, you see. It's here now. And so that's why the response that we have to make to it is all out all the time. Say it all. Speak the whole truth about mind control, where it was really born, how it really worked, how in the United States, in the 1940s, check this out, okay? tune it up, the brain. In the 1940s, if you were a mental patient in a California state hospital, you could not be discharged from that hospital until you were sterilized. Sterilized. That's right. The Americans were into the eugenics program before the Nazis were. People like Paul Pocono, they were doing all kinds of things to sterilize people. As detailed by another great friend of mine and fantastic hero, Dr. Peter Breggin, the whole point of the American Psychiatric Association in the 1940s in America, early 1940s, was to have a debate about whether the mentally retarded, in quotes, the mentally deficient, should be, get it, sterilized or killed. That was the debate. It was a debate carried out on the pages of their professional journal, and eventually in an editorial written in 1942 in the American Psychiatric Association Journal, the decision was kill him. Mentally deficient? Kill him. Do you think that's going all the way? Oh, yeah. Do you think they just abandoned this whole idea of control? Oh, we're not going to do that anymore. No, the only thing that's changed is the PR. The PR has gotten better, that's all. It's just as destructive now as it was then. In 1942, they said, the American Psychiatric Association, kill all mentally deficient children in America. That's our policy. And you psychiatrists, and I'm paraphrasing from the editorial, are going to have to use your psychological skills in talking to the parents of the children that are going to be killed to convince them that it's really in their best interest and the best interest of their child to be murdered. That's the legacy, folks. That's the legacy that we're dealing with. And that legacy is not stopped. It's continued. The history is continuous. It's gone on from that point right up till the present. The only thing that's changed is pharmaceutical companies say, we love you. We wouldn't do anything to hurt you, and neither would the psychiatrists. Oh, we care and we share, and it's all wonderful. And this is why Obama is now going to expand community mental health services all over America in the wake of the Sandy Hook shootings. Oh, yes, we have to stop the next one. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to have more and more people sent to psychiatrists. People that we think, oh, their behavior's a little odd. So, oh, we don't like what they said. Oh, you said that? Oh, Facebook blocked that? Oh, heavens to Betsy. Go to see a psychiatrist. Get a diagnosis of a mental disorder. Take a drug that will rip your brain circuits apart. And we'll call this healing and a cure. And we'll say that you are now no longer a danger to the community. And isn't it wonderful? Let's just get down on our hands and knees and pray and thank to these people who are watching over us. Yeah, they're going all the way. So we have to go all the way and tell them the truth about what they're really doing. It's mind control, folks, from one end to the other. That's what's down the rabbit hole. And waking up from that and seeing it and saying no, that's the whole point. Because waking up is contagious too. Just like going under a trance is contagious. You get sleepwalkers on the street, and after a while, a person looks around and says, well, maybe that's normal. Maybe that's what I should do. No, but when people start waking up, you begin to say, well, maybe that's what I should do too. You bet. Go do the research for yourself. Look up the Frank Church hearings in the 1970s in Congress. Only one small little slice of what MKUltra was all about. One little slice. And it was exposed at that time. Go look at the history of Ewan Cameron in Canada, Jose Delgado, the Yale researcher. Go look at all of that stuff and check it out for yourself, and you'll see. Google in sometime documents MKUltra and see what you can come up with. Read John Mark's book, Search for the Manchurian Candidate. Read Walter Bauart's book, Operation Mind Control. Read Alan Shefflin's book, The Mind Manipulators. When I interviewed John Marks in the early 1990s, he said to me, "Do you want to know how I got to be able to write the book that exposed MKUltra? Because that was really the book that did it." I said, "Yeah, I really would. I mean, how did you get the information?" He said, "Well, I was sending in FOIA requests for years to the CIA, and they were denying me every time. And then somebody finally, as a joke, sent me some financial records from MKUltra projects at the CIA, like, hey, let's see what this guy will do with that." But Marx is a very smart guy, and so he went to work on these records, and he found that he could begin to work out through the funding mechanisms what the projects were really all about and who was involved, the researchers, the scientists, the mad lunatic doctors and psychiatrists. And then he began to do interviews, and he pieced the whole thing together, and he wrote the book. And those other two books that I mentioned were also basically stemmed from those 10 boxes of financial records that the CIA finally sent to John Marks as a joke. See? So Marks went back. He went back to the CIA and he said, "Okay, boys, I want some more. I'm going to file some more requests." And here, this is what Marks told me. This is almost verbatim. They said to him, in 1962, the mind control program of the CIA, MKUltra, was shifted over to a different department at the CIA called the Office of Research and Development, ORD. That's where all the secret research has been going on since then. And now, they were taunting Marx, we've got 100 boxes of information. And guess what, Marx? You're never, ever going to get your hands on them. You can file as many FOIA requests as you want. You're never going to get one iota of that information ever again. Why? Because what we're doing now, what? It's more secret than ever. Therefore, it's more destructive than ever. Therefore, it's more effective than ever at being mind control. That's what the CIA was all about. That's what it became instantaneously as soon as it was created. It's the mind control agency. And that's what's happening all across America. So it's very easy to tell the American people, well, see, Al-Qaeda is this thing out there, way out there. I mean, we don't even know how to spell it, right? Is it ALQU? Is it ALQAI? Who knows? You know, we don't know what any of those names mean. It's way out there somewhere. They do all the damage on the planet. And every time something bad happens, they're responsible. Only thing is, we're funding it. We created it. We created part of it during the Afghan war, way back there. Remember, I remember back in the 80s, that's right. And we expanded and we continue to create it because it's a good proxy for us. We can stage revolutions with it. We can hire these thugs and people, pay them money and some actual, down-to-earth terrorists, but they're working for us. That's what Al-Qaeda is. And that's why Alex ran the headline, Obama is the head of Al-Qaeda. Because through various cutouts like NATO and the U.S. military and so forth, where do you think the funding is coming from? It's coming from here. It's coming from us. It's coming from other places like us, too. To keep the pot boiling, to destabilize other countries, to destroy other economies, to bring in even worse governments than those countries have now, governments that are more under our control, that are following our agenda, which is ultimately that's.
They'll be back with John Rappaport and The Conclusion. I'm Alex Jones.
John Rappaport back, sitting in for the last half hour of the Alex Jones Show for Alex. Let me leave you with just a few thoughts. When Alex walked on to Piers Morgan's set, you were there too, watching, right? Everybody was there. Oh, they were going to have a discussion about gun control. But it didn't turn out to be quite what CNN thought it was going to be. It was as if, follow me here, It was as if some guy walked onto the set and put his hand out and tore down one of the walls, thus exposing the control room and the cameras and the people standing around drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. Then he went over and he tore down another wall. And then you saw office with some people sitting around, you know, playing computer games and so forth. In other words, the whole illusion was shattered. That's what happened. That's what you have to understand. That if you're going to go up against the mind controllers, and the media are right in there with the CIA in their own way on the whole program of mind control, count on it all the time, 24/7. If you're going to go all the way against those people, you have to destroy the illusion. We're not, oh, we'd like to have a dialogue. Oh, would you sit down? Oh, certainly. So listen, Mr. CIA, is it true that you've done harmful things? Well, we may have made a few mistakes, my friends, over the years, but all in all, it's been a clean program. Yeah, sure, right. No, you have to destroy the illusion that is being presented, and that's what Alex did. He sat down, 3 words got out of Piers Morgan's mouth, you know, kind of like, oh, so hello, and then pow! Let me tell you what gun control is actually all about. Zam, 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 zam. And the host, of course, who always has the option of interrupting the guest, somehow did not work. Wow, what's going on here? Morgan is trying to, it doesn't work. Alex just keeps on boring into him, on and on and on and on. Destroying the illusion, not just of the conversation, but the broadcast, the network, CNN, the set on which all this is happening, Piers Morgan, the whole friggin' illusion is going up in smoke in front of your eyes as you're sitting there watching this. Man, I just ran out and got more popcorn and sat there and said, look at this. Look what's happening. He's destroying the entire illusion. That's what we have to do, folks. That's what we are doing. That's what Alex is doing every day on the radio show. That's what he's doing. I mean, if you want to know, destroying the illusion. And the illusion, obviously, is we speak the truth. We give you the best. We're trying hard. You know, all of the... And then on top of that, you put that major media glaze. This is Brian Williams on NBC2 tonight. For our top story, we go to Benghazi, reporting, what are you seeing on the ground there? Well, Brian, man, they're going all over the planet. And it's all very smooth back in the studio. Yes, folks, and so the tone, people go into a trance. Oh, yes, this is the story, yes, yes. Got to break the illusion. That's why I'm promoting Alex Jay Leno's spot on Tonight Show. That's all it'll take, folks. Forget about Jimmy Fallon. Come on. Alex, and I'll be a sidekick, and I'll sit there and pretend I'm drunk like Ed McMahon. Think about it, folks. You got to go all the way with the truth, and you've got to destroy the illusion.
Visit INFOWARS.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.